Purim we make something very special out of. Yeah, it was a very serious thing. The whole Klal Yisrael was going to be destroyed. Taf and Nashim, V'yayim Echad, the whole Klal Yisrael. The question was the whole Klal Yisrael, the only ones living in that area. It's a question in Eretz Yisrael. But upon him there was a very big danger, and he was safe from it. So it definitely has a
uniqueness.
Good uniqueness, yeah. But we find a very deep uniqueness here, almost unparalleled to what happened when we went out of Mitzrayim. In other words, if we had to say there were two times where the history of Klal Yisrael changed, it was when we went out of Mitzrayim, Gulas Mitzrayim, and when we were saved from Haman. Like we see that the Gemara says that the reason why we do Purim when there's two Adars, this is only one Adar. When there's two Adars, we do it by the second Adar. We do Purim. The Megillah they listen of Gula L'Gula. So it's attached to two Gulas. There's a lot of connections between the Gula of Pesach and the Gula of Purim. But what's such a and to the degree we'll see soon that it literally changed the course of Klal Yisrael. We'll see. But just for one aspect of it, I'll say now. Then we'll move on to the next thing. One aspect is that you find the Megillah, right? It doesn't have Hashem's name in it, and it's if you ask what the miracle is, wonder what the miracle was. So the miracle of Mitzvah Mitzrayim was an open miracle. It was an open miracle. Everybody saw, the sea turned to blood, and the dogs, and then you had Kriyas Yamsuf, and then you had top it all off with Maimon Har Sinai, the heavens open. I mean, there was miraculous events which showed us that Hashem is the one Hashem, and we followed Him. On Purim, it was a period of 10 years. The Megillah was given over, and was basically a period of 9 years, from beginning to the end, where this story took place. You can imagine Esther, and even afterwards, Esther was still stuck with this guy Achashverosh. He rather died only like a year later, if you make the cheshbon, because his son took over and let them build the Beis HaMikdash. So he didn't last too much longer. But Esther was still stuck there. He must have died about a year or so later, 2 years later, because they built the Beis HaMikdash right afterwards. The son was in charge already.
Right.
So Achashverosh couldn't have lasted too much. But
his son would have been
Esther's son.
Yes, but how old would he have been?
He couldn't be more than 12 years old.
Right.
He couldn't be more than 12 years old, maybe even younger, 11. He was a youngster. He was a king. I don't know how it worked. I can't tell you how it worked in those days, but maybe he had good advisors. I don't know, but Achashverosh must have been out of the picture. So he must have been gone. But in any case, it was, so we look at it, oh, what a miracle, all these events happened. But you have to remember, these events took over 10 years. Imagine today's day and age, until someone becomes president, and all these things happen, it takes time. So Vashti was killed, and then they looked for Esther. Esther was in there. The story Bixen and Sarah happened at one point, and it was a different over a time frame. But when we put all the details together, we come out with a miracle. And Haman wanted to do, and what we davened, and Hashem saved us. Just to give you as a side point, but just to give you a concept, what it means we davened. I mean, that's a strong statement to say, but I heard this from someone that take World War II. It was the same situation. It was different Haman. It was Hitler Yamach Shemai, and he partially succeeded. Klal Yisrael is well and strong now, but at that time he partially succeeded. Lab Taf and Nashim, Lab and Memoyim, Mamish to make Mamish and Haman wanted. That's the trade of Amalek, to get rid of everybody with their money, make them into money. Mamish to extract the gold out of their mouths. I mean, it's a madman. But Taf and Nashim, Lahashim, Lahabid, Laharig, it was that kind of thing. Now, if Klal Yisrael would have gotten together to the degree that they got together by the times of Mordechai, and the nest is called Divrei Tsumos V'Zakasa, right? We might say at the end of the Megillah that they fasted and they screamed to Hashem. Mordechai came out with his levush sackcloth, and everybody knew Mordechai is coming out with a sackcloth, even if they didn't read any letters, they knew that this meant serious business here, and Klal Yisrael had at stake, and they went and they davened. You can imagine if there would have been such a unified call of Achdus, the whole Klal Yisrael davening together, it could have been averted. There's no question. We believe that with Tefillah, everything could have been averted. Now maybe we weren't in the position to daven, maybe we already lost major parts of Klal Yisrael. I'm not saying what could have been done and should have been done. I'm just saying the concept is where you have such a decree, and they got out of it simply from their tefillah. But notwithstanding, the nest was a hidden nest. It wasn't clear open. It was something which you see people put the pieces together. So that's one aspect where today's day and age is the same thing. Today, if you want to see the Rebbeinu Shalom, if you want to see Hashem, you're not going to see Him with an open miracle. The Ramban already said that Hashem doesn't do open miracles for us. Everybody wants to see it. Hashem already showed it to us back then. That was Yetzias Mitzrayim. But there's plenty of scientists out there with all kinds of ideas of how the world came about. But if you take in the whole storyline from the beginning to the end, if you connect the dots, you see clearly there's Rebbeinu Shalom. All it means is connecting the dots. People don't have the ability to connect the dots. They just see this little thing, they see that little thing, they see that little thing. They don't connect the dots. They see an adult, they see a child. They don't see that this child started off from a little sperm. How the sperm came about is also miracles. I go into that because and how it developed into a child. A person doesn't take the time to think and connect all the pieces together. He's not going to see Hashem. He's not going to see it. So that's what the Megillah is. Beroisam yachad tchelos Mordechai. Tchelos is a color which comes from all different colors. And beroisam yachad, you see it all together. then you have a clear picture. So that's one lesson you can take out. That's the similarity. There was a show of Gilui of the Rebbeinu Shalom when we went out of Mitzrayim, and that lasted, we'll see soon, till the period of Purim. And then there was a show of Rebbeinu Shalom revealed himself in a different, unique way, which we still have around today, and that was by Purim. See it? You see Ashgacha Pratis. You see a person who takes the time to see and connect the pieces together. You can see the Rebbeinu Shalom. That was the unique. Gilui, revelation that we had on Purim, which we still have today. Now I'll go to my second point. The second point, I can't find the sefer here now, I had, but it's a fascinating thing, which I spoke about Sunday, which is, what at the end of the result from the whole Purim story, right? What was the end result? What do we have from it? We're not just celebrating a piece of history that there was a miracle, there was a Purim day, somebody was saved. What was the result? What did we get from it? So we got a few things. First of all, they rebuilt the Beis HaMikdash. In the times, they started building it before the Nesed and Megillah. They started building it by Koresh Rishon, and then the Yotza sitting alayim. They stopped the building from the Amalekim. They stopped the building, and then 13 years later, they rebuilt it by the Koresh Achor, the Yavish, and they built the Beis HaMikdash. That happened after the Nesed Purim, like Chazal say, that before you build the Beis HaMikdash, you have to get rid of Amalek. So there's a Machias Amalek. The end of the Megillah describes how they destroyed the Seres B'nai Haman, and they destroyed Amalek, and they got rid of Amalek, and then they were able to build the Beis HaMikdash. So the second Beis HaMikdash really is a result of the Nes of Purim. So that's one thing we had. What's another thing we had?
Was it Nasa V'Nishma?
Nasa V'Nishma. Kimu V'Kibru. We have this in Svar, in logic, is something which is very hard to fathom. We know Torah was given on Har Sinai. Torah was given on Har Sinai, and Torah was given on Har Sinai, and Klal Yisrael were forced to accept it. Kafu Gigas, Hashem put the mountain on top of them. Take it, or take V'rat and be buried over here. So they were forced to get. We'll explain what I mean soon, but they were forced to get the Torah. They said Nasa V'Nishma, they willingly accepted. So the Tzutzim, questions, answers, they accepted the Torah, but they were forced to take the Torah. So from that time, from Matan Torah, until the time of Purim, the Gemara says, Megdor Rabbi Raisa, Klal Yisrael was keeping the Torah, but they were forced to keep it. All of a sudden, Purim comes along, Kimu Kiblu, they Mekabel on themselves, Bi'ava, Baratzen, now they're accepting the Torah. I mean, it's a fascinating concept. I mean, a little bit late. To say Klal Yisrael already started many years ago, and look who you had. You had, the Nevi'im, you had Shmuel Navi, you had David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech. You had great people. You had a whole Klal Yisrael. The main, the second base of Mikdash was nice and all that, but they didn't have that Asura Nisim. You didn't have it wasn't the same as the first base of Mikdash. It wasn't on the same level. So the epitome of Klal Yisrael was in a time when we were forced to take the Torah. Klal first woke up, they first came to their senses after the Ness of Purim, say, now we're going to be Makabel. Something happened by this Megillah, now we're going to be Makabel the Torah with free will. It's something which not only is hard to fathom and imagine, it's somewhat, it sounds a little heretical. To this Klal Yisrael, they didn't really accept the Torah until Purim came along. What's the pshat? You have a pshat? So we're going to start with a little background, and hopefully we'll have an understanding of what's really going on. So we're going to start with a little background here. The background is based on Rav Gedalia Shor, Sefer and Rav Gedalia, and we'll see a little more. So there were basically two periods. There are really three periods. It's a Gemara. There's really three periods in the course of the world. The Shnei Alafim Torah, the Shnei Alafim Torah, and then the Shnei Alafim Meisa Mashiach. It means the world was split to 6,000 years. The first 2,000 years was Torah. There was no Schus. It was until Avram came along and Nefesh was B'charan, and then from there 2,000 years ended a number of years after the destruction of the second base of Mikdash. That was called 2,000 years of Torah. I'll explain that in a minute. And then the last 2,000 years is called the Moshe Mashiach. That's the time of Mashiach's coming. We're discussing the Shnei Alafim Torah. The 2,000 years of Torah is split into two parts. The first part is called the time of Gili, where things are very open. Now, what it means is like this. Openness means that it's Torah Shebiksav. It's the written law. The written law, the Medrash says in Medrash Tanchuma, and Noach says like this, that the written law is clarified. The Chumash starts on this page and ends on that page. You could bound it in a book. Well, it's all written down. There's certain clarification of what to do and what not to do. Do not steal. Don't do adultery. Things you should do or shouldn't do. To some degree, it's very clear. Right? So that's called Torah Shebiksav. That's clear. The oral law is V'chava Min Hayam. The Medrash Tanchuma says that Kosher Kishol Kinasa, you gotta break your head. Look how much storm there are. We still didn't get to the bottom of it. Torah Shebal Peh was handed down throughout the generations. You can learn all your life, and you just get the top. You haven't fathomed the depths yet. So that's the oral law. The oral law has no end, but the written law is clear. It's very clear. Back up in history. In that period, there was time in the Nevi'im. If a person had a problem, he didn't know what to do. You know what he did? He went to the Navi. And he asked the Navi. The Navi told him what to do. We were led by Nevi'im. There was one point. There was Keflaim Kiyotzim Mitzrayim. 1.2 million Nevi'im floating around in Eretz Yisrael. If anyone had any problem, there were Navi schools. He asked Hashem. He had an issue. He wanted to know what to do. Very simple, very clear, clearly defined rights and wrongs.
Did they all have direct connection to all the Nevi'im?
A Navi was a Navi. I guess there were different levels of Nevi'as. There were better, bigger ones and the smaller ones, but there were Nevi'im. Even obviously a person is born with the Yetzer Hara. He has a choice in life to do right and wrong. But even the Averis were clear. Avodah Zarah. Why was the first Beis HaMikdash destroyed? Avodah Zarah, Gili Arayas, Shvichas Damim. You ask someone, does the Torah say you're allowed to kill somebody? They'll tell you no. There's no debates of the right or wrong if you're allowed to kill someone. Avodah Zarah is very clear. Hashem created the Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah so strong that Menashe said, right, that if you'd been living in his times, you would pull up your kapota to run through the mud so fast to get to the Avodah Zarah. Hashem created the Yetzer Hara to balance it out. You know, they had Nevi'im, you had Nevi'im Baal. But there was right and wrong, and it was clarified, and either you went for the right or you went for the wrong. It was a time of Gili, things were open. In the first Beis HaMikdash, there were miracles. You walked in there, you knew who you were, you saw Hashem, those are miracles, those Asar Nisim. So that was one period. That's called the period of Torah Shabbat. And we were led by people who had the clearest vision of Nevuah. They led us throughout the generations.
But that was a time when we had Torah not by choice.
That was a time we had Torah not by choice. What does it mean that was a time that we had Torah not by choice? That means it's like this. That means that we had Torah not by choice. We said Nasav and Ishma. We chose to do it. We chose to have the Torah. Torah not by choice means that we understood that this is the right thing to do. It's clearly understood that the right thing to do is the Torah. The Maral says it was very clear. We didn't have a choice. It was very clear what's right and wrong. We chose to do it. Of course we chose. We said Nasav and Ishma. We chose because we knew it was the right thing. But it was Torah not by choice. It was by choice. It was by choice because we knew that was what we had to do. We didn't have any questions. We knew it was the right thing to do. There's another aspect to this, but let's leave it for now. Now, go a few generations, destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash. Okay, they go into Golus. The time period of era came to an end. Zechariah Malachi were the last Nevi'im. The time of Purim, this is when was the time period of the last Nevuah was coming to an end. What does it say by the last Nevuah? Zichru Torahs Moshe Avdi. Because it's going to come a time, right? The next Navi is going to be Eliyahu Hanavi. Until Eliyahu Hanavi, the next thousands of years, finished, Nevuah is over. It's not a big change. This is a big change in Klal Yisrael. I mean, we're looking at now back, we don't even know what a Navi is. But imagine living in those days. Nevuah is over. It's a major change. This is a game changer here. Klal Yisrael is not the same. No more Nevuah. No more Beis HaMikdash with Nisim. It's over. That period of history is over. Until Mashiach comes. It's over. So what happens when that period's over? What do we do? So Chazal say, Nitla Nevuah mechachamim, Nitla Nevuah from Nevi'im, V'nitla lachachamim was given to the Chachamim. What does that mean? Chachamim don't have Nevuah. What it means is we have a different power, a separate power. And that power is called Shorish Abal Peh. Today we're not living with the power of Torah Shabbat, with Gilui. Today we are living with the power of Torah Shabbat Peh. I'm going to explain this a little more in depth. They were ready to build a second Beis HaMikdash. This is in the Pirkei Yecholos. I don't have the Seifers, I can't quote it for you here. But if you go look in the Pirkei Yecholos, which Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol wrote, it's the Medrash from Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, he says, when they wanted to build a second Beis HaMikdash, they asked Hashem, they said, we don't want to build it. We know there's not going to be the miracles. The Oren was Nignas. We didn't even have the Oren HaKodesh there. It was Nignas. It's not going to be the same. We're still going to be controlled by other lands. They built a second Beis HaMikdash. They're controlled by other nations. Not for us. We'll just wait it out until, time for Mashiach. Why should we build a second Beis HaMikdash? So Hashem told them back, no. I'm promising to you the Ikar Torah, the main part of Torah, the Ziva V'Hadorah, and it lists about 15 adjectives there about different the glory of Torah. Its glory, its grandeur, its memshalta, its rulership. The Ikar thrust of the Torah will be given during the period of the second Beis. That's why you should build a Beis HaMikdash. You should build a Beis HaMikdash because through the Hashrois Hashchina of the second Beis HaMikdash, I'm going to give you the main part of Torah. That's what it says. Look it up in the Pirkei Yechilos of Yishmael Kohen Gadol. So he writes there. What does it mean to give the main part of Torah? This is Torah Shabbat Peh.
How is this transmitted to us?
How is this transmitted to us?
I mean, this information that he's going to give it to us. Was this given during this information that it's going to happen, given during the first?
There's no Nevuah. Was Nevuah. There was no Nevuah. Writes it. I don't know how he could be doing Nevi'im. They started building the second base of Mikdash. They still had Nevuah when they still built when they started building it. So, as they started Nevuah at that time. So what is this? If you look in our Torah Shabbat, what we have. If you look in our Shas, our Gemara, you look at what we have. What do we have? We have Mishnayos, we have Gemara. We don't say, you don't find the Gemara, Reb Meir Mishum Yeshua ben Nun. You don't have that. The period of the Torah Shabbat we have today, it starts basically Hanukkah time, from Shimon HaTzadik. It starts basically from Shimon HaTzadik, but the Rambam writes in that Talmud to pay from Mishnayos, that all the Tanaim that are listed are all from Shimon HaTzadik's time and on. Talmidim Shimon HaTzadik, the Anshe Knesset Gdola. If you look in the Pirkei Avos, right, it says Moshe Kibel Torah Sinai Masrul Yeshua. Shows games, and then it says, what does it say? It says Masrul. It says again. It says right. It says. It says the word Masruah only twice. Moshe gave us the Torah. Then it says again when the Nevi'im gave it over to Anshe Knesset Gdola. Because the Torah stayed the same. From the time Moshe got it from Hashem and gave it over to Yeshua, it stayed the same. Yeshua came, when the Nevi'im gave it over to Anshe Knesset Gdola, a whole new thing. Anshe Knesset Gdola had a whole new Torah. They had a Torah Shabbat Peh. They had a whole new Torah. And this Torah Shabbat Peh that they gave over to the is what we have today. All the Mishnayos, all the Gemara, this was built during that period of the second base of Mikdash. This was the Torah Shabbat Peh that we have it today, is given in the time of the second base of Mikdash. And it's a very important thing to note, because Torah Shabbat Peh is the Torah learning is different than the Torah learning of Torah Shabbat Ksav. I'll try to explain too. It's a small difference, but it's a very big difference. Because the Torah Shabbat Ksav is like when we went out of Mitzrayim, right? We were slaves to Paroi, and then we became Avadayim. We're slaves to Rebbeinu Shalom. What does it mean we're slaves to Rebbeinu Shalom? What that means is we're slaves to Rebbeinu Shalom means that we submit willfully, Nasa v'nishma. We submit our will to Hashem's will. We submit our will to Hashem's will. That's what it meant. Torah Shabbat Peh is something else totally. Torah Shabbat Peh is what I learn. Once you learn, it's Nasa delay. It becomes your Torah. But you learn. Each person, Shisha Ribi Yosef in the Torah. There's 600,000 Jews. Each Jew has a source in the Torah. When a person learns, he has built into him, and his neshama, he has built into him a power to understand Torah. And when you learn Torah and you understand it, you say, I have such a geschmack of pshat. I have a pshat. I have a pshat. Torah. What's it got to do with me? No, I have a pshat. It's me learning. It's my Torah. I'm learning it. And there's no Torah without me learning it. Torah loy b'shamayim. We have all the Gemaras of Torah loy b'shamayim. Where's the Gemara? Right? Where's the start? Sometimes in the Tanoim. Right? They had Hillel and Shammai. Had a Machlokas. Who's the halacha like? Torah loy b'shamayim. We have Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Gamliel. Right? They put Rabbi Elazar in the Chayrim. Rabbi Elazar said that the Kosher Beis HaMedrash, they're falling down. All these miracles he did. The river should go backwards. Mishra got up and says, I don't care what kind of miracles he performed. The Torah's not upstairs anymore. It's here. We decide. Hashem said, Nitzchuni bana, you won me. I thought like Rabbi Elazar, but I can't help it. You guys won. What kind of nonsense is this? Rebbeinu Shalom made the Torah. We won him? But the Torah is our Torah. We're learning the Torah, and it becomes us. It becomes part of us. So when I'm learning the Torah, it's me. The Torah, it's one Torah. And this phenomenon, in the major way, took place from the Torah Sheba'al Peh, which was built up in the second Beis HaMikdash. And this is what it means. We accepted the Torah again, not like Avodim, where we submit ourselves to the Baruch Hashem because everything is clearly open. Nothing's open anymore. I heard from Rabbi Yaakov Hillel. Rabbi Yaakov Hillel says, if you look through the generations, he says that you had Torah Shebeksav and Torah Sheba'al Peh. Now you have today the outburst of Kabbalah that happened in the later generations. It came out later, much later. He says because things got less and less clear. It used to be like we said before, the Yetzer Hara was Avodah Zarah. Then, in the time of Torah Sheba'al Peh, what was the Yetzer Hara? You had first you had Christianity, and you had the Muslims. It's all based on our Torah. They claim that they have the Torah, and then you have the Tzedukim, who said Torah Shebeksav, we're going to teach the Torah differently. You have the Tzedukim, and then you have all the isms that come up throughout the generation. It gets closer and closer to home, and it becomes brother against brother, and things become less and less clear. What's right, what's wrong, we don't know what's right and wrong. Prove to me this is right, maybe that's right. The whole Yetzer Hara changed. It's not, we know the Torah is correct, and Avodah Zarah is wrong, but what can I do? I have a Yetzer Hara to do Avodah Zarah. No. I don't know what's right, I don't know what's wrong. It's such an Irv Tova Ra today. People think that right is wrong and wrong is right. They think it's a mitzvah that men should marry men. It's a crazy world. We're living in a world where people do not understand anymore what morally correct and not correct, because it got closer and closer and closer. And in order to bring yourself out of it, it's not enough to submit ourselves to the Baruch Hashem. Who said what? What's going on? It has to come from us. We have to sit and think and come out with it. Al pi the Torah, al pi the Besorah that we have, that we were taught through generations by learning the Torah, coming out and developing a thought. This is right. I know it's right. It's coming from me. A person has a conscience. Conscience is what's inside. Gets destroyed over the ages. But a person who has done what's right, it comes from the Torah. It comes from his neshama. Each person, that is the power of Torah Sheba'al Peh. And this is what lasted us through the generations. This comes from Hodi Kablu Ba'ava. Ba'ava means with love, which means it's my thing. I love it. I want this. Not just I'm submitting myself to your will. This was created at the time of Purim. I'll say a fascinating thing from the Leshem. So Leshem asked the question. Leshem was one of the last real Ashkenazic Mekabolim. The grandfather of Yashiv was a Yerushalayim. But there's a Leshem, he has a lot of Svarim and Kabbalah. So anyways, so he wrote, he's a huge man. So he wrote that he made a very interesting observation. He says that we find in Nach and Tanakh, Hashem made a miracle. He made a miracle. Kriyas Yamsuf, he split the river. We find Eliyahu Hanavi was Machayim Mesim. Elisha was Machayim Mesim. Elisha wanted to be Machayim Mesim twice. He said, I want to have Pishnayim Beruchach. I want to have double of Eliyahu. Eliyahu Hanavi was only able to do it once. I want to be able to do it twice. Eliyahu said, how's that possible? You have to come and be there when I go up to Shemayim, and if you're there, you'll be able to be Machayim Mesim twice. Gemara asked how he did it 3 times. Gemara said 1 time doesn't count. Whole Gemara about it. Hanavi had a power to make a miracle in Machayim Mesim, right? You had Avram was in the Kazdim. Avram Avinu wasn't burnt. These are miracles that happen once in a lifetime. Then you read through Gemara. Anyone who's gone through Gemaras, you see this was easy business for the Amiram. Come Purim, come Rabbi Shachtel Rab Zera. Rabbi got up and in the Purim he was shikker. He shechted Rab Zera, and then he saw he killed him, so he's Machayim Mesim. And Gemara has stories where they were Machayim Mesim back and forth. And Gemara says Katanim Shebehem, the smallest Amorah that's mentioned in the Gemara was able to be Machayim Mesim. Anyone has his name mentioned in the Gemara. Not everybody has his name mentioned in the Gemara. Anyone has his name mentioned in the Gemara, give him Machayim Mesim. The Gemara says Rab Zera. Rab Zera was Bodik Menura. He fasted 40 days before he made an Aliyah. He made a real Aliyah. He moved from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. He wanted to forget Teres Bavel and learn Teres Eretz Yisrael, whatever that means. So he fasted 40 days, and he checked himself every day in the fire to see if he burnt. He stuck his hand in, and it didn't burn. He knew he was still doing good. If it got all burnt, then he would have a problem. What do you mean? Avram Avinu went into a Gazim. We had a story with Mazutra. He was called Cotton Charach Nura, because once his clothing got a little swinged, there was a question why it happened. You have Mazutra, Marukva was running away from the, he did the chesed with the stalker. He ran with his wife. They ran into a Kibshana H, and his wife's feet weren't getting out, so he had to stand on his wife's feet because his feet got a lot. I mean, Fascinating miracles. How's that possible? Chris Yamsuf, Pinchas Ben Yair was going to do Pidyon Shvuyim. He came to a river. He said, split. The river had a split. And then there was an Arab behind him. He said, it's not proper. You should wait for the Arab too. Let him walk through. And here we have a whole big event, Yetzias Mitzrayim, that the whole Torah is based on. I mean, what's going on here? Zok to Leshem, that's not a question. In the time of Torah Shebiksav, that's the way it was. There was a miracle. Hashem made a miracle for Klal Yisrael. He only did it once or twice, and that was it. And at the time of Torah Shabbat Peh, it's my Torah. Memshalta was given. The rulership of Torah, it's Leib HaShamayim, it was given to the individual. His connection, Torah Yisrael, V'Orais, and Kutchabrich L'Chadu. The Miram came to such a level, such a rulership, they were able to do it. They had the power of Torah within them. They were able to split the seas. Unbelievable what they did. This was given. This was given. The whole history changed after the.
And the foundation of this is the Purim story.
The miracle that brought this about, that brought Klal Yisrael to the high, that they were ready to take the challenge. They're in Golus. They're in a place where you can't see the Rebbeinu Shalom anymore. They're in Golus. There's no Gilui. There's no revelations. And still they were able to see the closest that Hashem was with them. Even in this darkness of Golus, they were able to see that Hashem's watching them every second. You put all the pieces together, like we mentioned before, and you see that Hashem was with them. Every day there's another miracle. They had it. That gave them such a strong kesher that even they were ready to accept the challenge of going through 2,000 years of Golus, of inquisitions and Holocaust and who knows. They were ready to undertake it because they saw that Hashem was going to be with them every step in the way. And they were ready to makabel it with love. And that was Makabel's Torah Shabbat Peh. And they accepted it, and that's what we have today. And that's the power, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of Torah. Each individual, he learns a little Gemara assumption, okay, he just can write a thesis, he learned something up there. It's him. It's him. It's Torah delay. It's him. When he learns a little bit, it's coming out. A little bit of him is coming out. The more he learns, the more of him is coming out. The more chiyas, the more life he gets. And that's Torah Shabbat Peh. And that's what we got on Purim. You think over what we learned a little today, you'll see that there's fascinating things going on. But this is just a tip of the iceberg, as they say.
Yes, yeah.
Sure.